Good Monday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. I am the Crypto Crow, and I'm going to be talking quite a bit about Cardano. We're going to be going over some charts, historical and present. We're going to discuss milestones in Cardano's development and why Cardano, to me, is number one and will be number one in the not so distant future, and what that means for you. Make sure you check out murderofcrows.io. This is my Cardano-based NFT collection. You can mint up to 10 at a time, and every day I check, more and more going. We may actually sell out of this. I mean, this may actually sell out. It supports me and my channel, and that's about it. If anything else happens, then fantastic. I mean, all that depends on you, not me. Also check out Soblox.com. That's SOBLOKS.com. This is my social media platform that we're building on Cardano, waiting for Hydra so that we can institute microtransactions and things that are really going to send this to where we want it, with all of the other new systems that we have planned, such as the tokenizer, the marketplace, all kinds of stuff, paid content for creators, all sorts of things. It's coming, but it's going to be a little while, but everybody is engaging, and you can start building yourself up now. Now, let's take a quick look at Bitcoin. A recent dip in the price action of Bitcoin. We're currently sitting at around 29,400, and whether or not we continue to move back up, which I think it's likely that we do. I think this is considering the major move that we got all the way up to like 31,000. I think we're going to. I told people, privately, I'm like, yeah, we're probably going to get a dip, and then we're likely going to turn around, close above this channel, excuse me, and then away we go. We continue moving sideways and up in little bits. Now, this is about Cardano, and I'm going to show you guys some stuff. I was working on this last night, and I was doing some research and kind of going over some historical things. And the one thing that I noticed, and I posted this on Twitter, is that anytime there was an article I saw about Cardano, they always attached bullish sentiment to Solana as well. And I found it to be extremely odd. And in hindsight, it makes more sense, because all of these VCs that were pumping money into this, not to mention FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried and all of this, they were all, they were buying advertising all over the place. And so I just kind of assumed, and I look at what's been going on the last few years, and I'm like, it just seemed like, these websites and digital platforms were all trying to maintain their their relationships with Solana and just keeping that ad revenue coming in. It's honestly, it's kind of disgusting, really, because look what happened. But yeah, now it makes more sense. And it's just really odd to look up like old Cardano articles and see Solana mentioned in almost all of them with positive sentiment, as though Solana was any kind of legitimate competitor to Cardano. It's ridiculous. But anyway, we're going to go over some information here. So as of right now, if we look back in the history of Cardano, I was trying to pull charts from all the way back to when I first got into Cardano, which was, I think it was December of 2017 was when I made my first purchase. And I basically announced to the world that I was gonna marry Cardano. I was attaching myself to Cardano. I believed in it. I read so much stuff related to Cardano. I was obviously reading a lot of stuff nobody else was reading at the time, because you never saw anybody mention any part of anything other than like people were fudding it constantly. YouTubers were fudding it because they were in favor of Ethereum or Solana or something else. Now the tides have changed, where now everybody's talking about Cardano. Everybody loves Cardano. Everybody's into Cardano now, which is great. But that wasn't always the case. And if we look all the way back here, this was the bottom after a previous cycle peak. But if you look all the way down, Cardano's price hit under 2 cents. And I was doing videos at this time telling everybody, this is the past, this is the future, likely future, which is what I'm doing now. People can take notice, or they don't have to. But ultimately, it was all, it had peaked up to like $1.33. No, well, here it was up to 38 cents. And that was in 2018. And that was after, things had dropped a bit. And we moved all the way down to a penny, okay, penny and a half. And then we got Shelly. So all of everything that had happened up to this point was before any major milestone. It was a crappy wallet, admittedly. Daedalus was a very wonky, janky wallet. And there were no smart contracts. There was no staking. There was no DeFi. There was no nothing. It was basically a lot of technical terminology thrown into a lot of reports and documents and all sorts of things. And it was just nothing but an idea. But it was an idea that I firmly believed in. And I could tell from its inception that it was being handled and driven much different than the vast majority of crypto projects out there claiming to be the next big thing. And they, of course, weren't. But Cardano has stood the test of time and only continues to get better and more powerful and more dominant over time. And on April 3rd of 2020, we had the Shelly launch, which introduced the decentralized nature and staking, basically nodes, allowing anyone with the technical knowledge, that is, to create a node. Like I launched the Crow node, CROW, and it's been ebbing and flowing ever since. And since that launched, we saw the rise up into the 2021 peak. We had the Bitcoin halving shortly after the Shelly launch, which we all know is the general catalyst for the new bull market. If you look at this time frame, this is March 2020. This goes all the way back to April of 2018. So that's over a 2-year time span leading up to the halving. The price basically just went down. We are, basically somewhere around here right now. So we could come down lower from where we're at, and it's still be in line with what we've seen in previous market cycles. It's not going to be such a shocker. But that being said, on September 12th, basically after the peak of 2021, when everything has already started to come down, I called the peak on Twitter to the day, and I called the double market peak. But we had the first peak in April, and I told everybody that afternoon, this is going to be the first of what I think is going to be a 2-peak cycle, a 2-peak market, and it was. And I've shown that on so many videos. But anyway, on September 12th, 2021, we had the launch of Goguen, which introduced smart contracts to the platform. This was huge, but it doesn't outweigh what's going on in the general market of things, right? We had a TVL peak, so the total value locked was over 434 million ADA, and that was basically midway through our drop to the bottom. Now it's dropped significantly. It's gone down all the way. I mean, it basically followed price for the most part, all the way up until where we are now, where it's started to come back up. We're currently sitting at a $200 million TVL, including staking, and it's continuing to rise up. Each day, it seems to be going up a little bit more. Now, the idea is, okay, how do we figure out where we're going? Now, I've done in previous videos where I've calculated Bitcoin's potential, where I believe that the Bitcoin price is going to go, and how that relates to the Cardano price, Bitcoin's price, post-halving, Bitcoin dominance, all of this, right? And how that relates to Cardano's price, Cardano's market capitalization. I did all of those numbers, and I ended up at somewhere around an $8 Cardano. So what I did here is I basically took a bars pattern from the point of the halving to the peak, okay? And I basically plopped it right down. So that's what this red line is. This is literally just a bars pattern of Cardano's price from peak to, or from the halving to the peak. ending at about $8, which takes the price down to around 29 cents. Now, we could potentially do this, all right? And we could just pull that out, and this could be what we see, okay? Something similar in price action to this. And this looks very, very, very likely, all right? And it's also possible that we could go higher in price. But there are a couple of key things that are happening with Bitcoin, or with Cardano rather, that are going to really send this to the moon, in my opinion. Number one is Hydra, which is basically where every node is going to be able to act as a Hydra head, processing more transactions, offering significantly more throughput and scalability than we currently have. And ultimately, it's going to institute microtransactions, which is what Soblox is waiting on before we really put everything on chain, because we want everything to be on chain on Soblox, everything possible. And not only that, but we want the governance, because ultimately I would love to see Soblox be a completely self-governing social media platform that we don't touch outside of development, that the community votes on. We want Soblox to act in line with how, like with the consensus and all of that. We want it to be very similar to Cardano itself and its nature, as much as possible anyway. And so with that, Voltaire is ultimately the nail on the coffin to so many other blockchains out there. Why? Because governance in its nature, while not being the most popular of topics when it comes to crypto, for something like Cardano that ultimately wants to be more of an autonomous blockchain where it's used by people in financial markets the world over, it's not, nobody like Bitcoin, one of Bitcoin's key things is that nobody knows who created it. It could have been a government project. It could have been some guy in Japan. Nobody knows. Okay. And people like that. People like that mystery because there's no one to blame. There's no one to, go after. There's nobody directly profiting from it because the wallet, the money in the wallet, the $1 million that's locked up, or the million Bitcoin that have been locked up since inception haven't moved. They haven't done anything. So there's all of that. And that's what is going to make Cardano very much different than just about everything out there. When IOHK and these development groups and all of that, when they basically take a back seat to making the decisions related to furthering Cardano's growth and changes of direction or whatever may happen in the future, it's going to be a governance issue, a voting issue, where the people involved in its economy and its ecosystem and all of that, we're going to be the ones that make the decisions for Cardano's growth in the future, not one guy sitting at an ivory tower barking orders at the peasants below him. That's not how this is going to work. That's not how it's designed. Voltaire is going to play a significant role in everything related to Cardano. So when I look at what's happening in the market and I look at what's to be expected, here's the thing. The truth of the matter is that all of these issues, all of these positive developments, all of these positive things, these are going to help continue to build sentiment and use case, and they're going to help inspire developers to create more applications that are going to increase the TVL, and it's going to increase the overall functionality, and it's going to help with so many things, but it's not going to directly move the price. Where Cardano is in the market and its tokenomics and its market capitalization and the number of tokens in circulation and all of that, that is ultimately what's going to dictate its price. What is going to change how that price is affected is the number of people that are holding it. And I think over 50% of Cardano's holders are now considered long-term. Okay, so that number is going to continue to rise. The amount of Cardano being delegated to staking nodes like the Crow node will continue to rise as we move forward and closer to this next halving. But ultimately, it's the halving that's going to dictate the market. It's the halving that's going to dictate what happens with the altcoins under it. We're not really competing with Bitcoin's price. Some like to think so, but we're not this early. what we're doing is we're vying for control of market capitalization against the other crypto projects out there. Cardano is already where it's at without even being a finished project, really. Now, we can look, this is an April 14th, 2023 weekly development report. The Lace Light Wallet Platform 1.0 is live on mainnet, and it works. I use it. I love it. I think it looks sharp. It feels good. It's simple to use. Tracing system improvements to minimize resource footprint and ensure high throughput. The Plutus team is working on the implementation of sums of products. Hydra voting project discussions with the community. Updates on Project Catalyst platform improvements, which good, because I personally don't like the way that's set up right now. Projects launched on Cardano. There are 124 major projects launched on Cardano, with 1,225 projects being built on Cardano. And these aren't crappy little silly woozy projects. A lot of these are significant projects that have major plans, okay? 8.11 million native tokens on the Cardano blockchain, 71,589 token policies, 7,738 Plutus scripts, out of which 2,369 Plutus version 2. 64.6 million total number of transactions, ultimately saying the Cardano blockchain is growing. And it's going to continue to grow exponentially as these new milestones continue to be met with Hydra, Voltaire, and everything that's going to come in the meantime. And so when I think about Cardano and I look at where it's been, where it's at, where I believe it's going, it is my number one. It is my end all be all. Anytime I even attempt or I try, or sometimes I do put even a little bit of money into another asset, I feel like I'm cheating myself. And that's the truth. Call that bias, call that whatever you want. I've been following Cardano since 2017. It hasn't let me down yet. How many other projects that you've invested in can you say the same thing? Okay. And I'm good with that. But ultimately, I believe in Cardano and I believe in Charles. I believe with I believe in their methodical approach, with their peer review, with their more scientific method of developing a blockchain that they know that they are building for global finance, and not just global finance, but every other use case associated with blockchain decentralized technology and in true decentralized form. So many of these blockchains out there claim to be decentralized, but they're not, folks. They're not. Okay? Cardano truly is. So this is why, and I'm doing this video primarily to explain to you why, as we continue to move forward, I'm probably going to be focused on Cardano and associated assets and projects. I just don't care. I don't care about other projects. I don't care about buying into something at 2 cents, hoping it goes really well. And if you're looking for that like quick, dangerous cash, my channel's probably not going to be it for you anymore, because I am all about risk versus reward. If I invest in Cardano right now at 44 cents and it goes up to $8, I'm a happy dude. I'm not worried about buying something at a fraction of a penny and then just hoping and praying it goes up to $1. I'm not saying you can't do well, and I'm not saying that you may not do well. I'm just saying that for me, I'm at an age where I want to make more educated decisions on what I do with my money and what I talk about that is likely to inspire others that do the same thing. And I don't want to steer anybody in a wrong direction. And anytime I talk about any other kind of project that, you know, the risk versus reward is probably really, really high. And it's like, yeah, you can put $1,000 into this and hope for the best. And maybe that becomes 30 grand or it just goes to zero. I don't feel comfortable doing that kind of content anymore. And yeah, it's fun and it's exciting for those that love to gamble, but I'm not a gambling man. I never have been. I've always tried to make educated decisions, and I've always tried to do content on this channel that inspires self-education, self-valuation of, you know, basically being able to look at something and saying, I really love this project and this is why I'm putting my money into it, aside from just this YouTuber I saw last Thursday seems to really like it and he seems to know what he's talking about, so I'm going to buy it blindly. I don't want anybody doing that. Okay. the more you educate yourself on the space and the projects you invest in, the more you'll understand why people say invest what you can afford to lose. Because if you invest more than you can afford to lose, you make dramatic decisions based on emotions and doubt. But if you buy into something that you truly believe in, and the more you understand the technology you're buying into, the easier it is to weather the ebbs and flows of the market without freaking out. Okay, so that's it. I just wanted to share my thoughts on what's going on in Cardano land, and I am going to be covering more projects on the Cardano blockchain over the next couple years, and hopefully you'll join me. So if you like what I have to say, subscribe, hit the alert bell, and drop a comment and a like, and I really do appreciate it. And until next time, crow your coins, and I'll see you again very soon.